Moving on to Chelsea, we will get on to the news around who they're likely to bring in. There's big news around Enzo Maresca, coming in from Leicester. But your reaction, Hussam, to your man, essentially, Poch, being dismissed yesterday and all of the fallout that essentially surrounds it.
First of all, Terry, a whole 365 days later, you can finally say, Hussam, you were right on the Chelsea situation. Remember when I told you it's the worst club, it's the worst fan base to give a Pochettino to give a youth project to? It's been proven. And 365 days from now, Terry will be saying, Hussam, you're right again on the Chelsea situation when they're the new manager out next season. I promise, before I get into the Pochettino thing, I'm going to make a promise right here, right now. The date is 22nd May, 2024. 2 days after my birthday, I'm making a public promise to the Terrace audience. 365 days from now, the same exact people that were Poch out are going to be manager X out, whoever it is, Maresca, whichever ever manager Chelsea are linked with right now, they're going to be the same exact person out, literally. Same exact person out, and they're going to be here on YouTube doing the same stuff. Oh, get De Zerbi out my club. Get McKenna out my club. Get this guy out of my club, get that guy out of my club. That's just the reality of the situation. They're going to be saying the same exact stuff because they don't understand. They're the ones who actually want to cheat the process. Speaking of cheating the process, they're the ones who don't understand what it takes to build a successful institution. This is the problem with them. Chelsea last season finished 12th. This season, they finished 6th. Logic dictates that there is zero reason to sack Mauricio Pochettino, whether people like it or not. Chelsea have assembled a Europa League level squad and they finished in the Europa League positions. Out of the teams that finished above them, the only team you could make an argument isn't better than them on paper is Spurs. Other than that, all the other teams are better than them on paper, and it's just the reality of the situation. You look at Chelsea Football Club, and the biggest problem with Chelsea is the Clown Lake ownership group. I'm no longer calling them Clear Lake, I'm calling them Clown Lake. You know, maybe the likes of Minerals and these guys were right. They were right. Let's have it right. You know, the likes of Todd Bowley, Igbali, Stanley, Stewart, the biggest clowns that have ruined the ethos of what Chelsea Football Club is. The problem with the Chelsea fans is they have an Abramovich mindset with a Bowley, Igbali ownership and Bowley, Igbali players. You look at this current squad. This guy has Madueke and Mudryk in Europa League spots. He should be given manager of the season just for that. Nicholas Jackson at the start of the season was getting compared to Darwin Nunez. He made him into a good striker. That's why he was mourning, you know, when Pochettino left the club yesterday. I think Chelsea are going to win the award for the stupidest institution in the English Premier League. I think sacking Pochettino is an absolutely idiotic decision. Chelsea fans come tell me, we spent the most of the season in 12th place and we ended up finishing 6th. Two things. Would you rather spend the whole season in 6th and then finish 12th then? If that's your logic, you just want to say where you spent most of the season or where you ended. Second thing I want to say is, you told Arsenal fans, it doesn't matter where you are in January, it matters where you are in May. Okay, in May you're 6th. And why do I care where you were in January? In January, I was top of the league. Now I'm now 3rd. I'd rather be 1st in May and 3rd in January. It doesn't matter if it took him long to figure it out or whatever it is. The reality is that no one will tell you. Chelsea have been decimated by injuries. Chelsea have made multiple wrong transfers. There are players who just needed time to get used to the league, get used to the country, get used to the culture, get used to the food, get used to the speed, get used to everything, and now suddenly they're playing. Then Kunku balloon celebration, we saw it, Terry, for the first time in game week 37. Game week 37. In Kunku, we made a fantastic signing. Yeah, but we only saw the balloon because this guy was injured the whole season. Reece James has been injured. Gusto's been injured. I could go through the entirety of the team and every single one of them has been injured. It got to the stage where Chelsea Football Club, big Chelsea Football Club, had a hashtag United goalkeeper on their bench. Hashtag United. The same team that the YouTuber owns, Spencer, I think his name is. Hashtag United goalkeeper was on Chelsea's bench. Can you imagine from 15 years ago if I told you the bench player is going to be one of the goalkeepers that used to play for a YouTube team? You'd all laughed at me. This is simply the level of Chelsea now. Mauricio Pochettino did a fantastic job at Chelsea. Fantastic job at Chelsea. I don't care what anyone says. He built them up to the level, step by step by step by step. He got them there at the end. He finished in 6th place. They're a Europa League squad anyway. He got to a Carabao Cup final, FA Cup. He done really well. I forgot who knocked them out the FA Cup. I think it was City. City in the semi-final. They even dominated them in the semis at Wembley. I think Chelsea are headed nowhere fast. And I promise every single person watching right now and my fellow panelists, within December 2024, forget 2025, December 2024, whether it's McKenna, whether it's Enzo Maresca, whether it's any of these guys, every single one of these Chelsea fans who are insulting me right now or are saying thank God Poch is gone or are celebrating are going to be said manager out in December. I'm making a promise and I will live up to the promise right here, right now. There will be the manager out. And final point I'll say, this is the same exact thing we warned the Chelsea fans about before this thing even started. Me and Mo have had these conversations with Chelsea fans. I've done it with Terry on Straight Facts multiple times. I've been here on Match Reactions and I said the same thing. The manager market stinks. You're not going to get Hansi Flick. You're not going to get Thomas Tuchel. You're not going to get any of the good managers. Who are you linked with? McKenna, Maresca, these type of managers. And you'll still have Don come on the terrace in the summer and tell you that we have a top 4 squad and we should finish in the top 4 next season when this is the team that they have. They just signed Estevao.
On you saying that, obviously the news that's come out from Damasio today is that Enzo Maresca is the main candidate to become the new Chelsea coach. He has convinced them on the style of play, has a release clause of 10 million. We obviously know about McKenna and sort of where he's been at the last few years. Another story that's come out here from someone close to Chelsea is that Poch's successor will have to accept the authority of the board and sporting directors with a control that could even stretch into elements of on-pitch coaching. So it's very much, they all not quite picking the starting 11, but the board want a lot of influence on transfers, how you play, the type
on-pitch coaching.
On-pitch coaching that needs to happen as well. When you read this, Mo, they've sacked Poch, they're looking for something new. This man, well, this is his CV, as we can see. He was the assistant manager at Manchester City. He's been at Parma in the past and City's under 23s. He's looked after Leicester for 50-odd games. Do you think he is currently, the bookies have De Zerbi as the favourite, but the media are stating that he is currently the top candidate. Is someone like him or McKenna going to help fix Chelsea, in your opinion?
No. Here you go. Todd Bowley is a bitter man. He didn't like that Pochettino called him out. He didn't like that Pochettino publicly demanded a say at the transfer market, basically a say at the club. This is how I see it. If these guys sacked Pochettino and went and tried to get Hansi Flick, for example, or even someone like a Conte or a Mourinho, I would think, yeah, okay. So you wanted to move forward. You didn't like Pochettino. You didn't like his football. And you wanted to move on. But looking at the names they're linked with all due respect, I think these guys want to continue with this youth project, buying Estevao and buying Hussama's nephew and Hussama's cousin, the young cousin from Jordan, and sell them later for profit. You know what I mean? I'm serious. By the way, hiring someone like this, don't give me style of play, not style of play. Pochettino had a style of play. Up until like 15 games, go check the stats. They were the highest team in possession, created chances most in the league, and missed chances most of the league. So he has a style. Let's just establish it. And by the way, do you guys know that in the last 16 games of the season, the accumulated points more than Liverpool in the league? They're the third. You guys know that? That doesn't come out of nowhere. Jackson started scoring, as Hussam said. Everyone. So for you to say, well, we need a style of play, the Pochettino offered that. And offer development for some of the players, even though it came late, but he did.
Yeah.
But I think Todd Bowley and Clown Lake, whatever the name is, I think they're bitter. They're bitter people. They didn't like that he called them out. And what they want is not only they want a yes man, because Pep Guardiola is a yes man. Pep Guardiola accepts that the board are running Manchester City and they get him players and he work with them, but he demands a certain quality of players. Antonio Conte is not a yes man. Jose Mourinho is not. But there are managers out there that will work if you give them good talent. They don't want someone like this. They want someone that will accept anything, bro. Like, what I mean is that they will get him a player that is very young, not known, and
Puppet.
work with him. They want a puppet.
but-
I'm
but
so
let-
with all due respect to these guys.
So, but when they say puppet, so before we actually get into Enzo, because I've got something that Chelsea fans have been saying, I have a problem with the concept of they want a puppet, because as you've just said, to a certain degree, Pep is a yes man and a puppet. Pep didn't know who Doku was when he got signed, but he was given to him. I'm sure he knew who Haaland was because he was very, very famous. But it's about trust. And I think this is the difference. I think I understand what Chelsea want, and I don't think what they want and what they say is wrong. It isn't. But it's about picking the right person to do that job. So I'll give you an example if I take it down to my business. I own an estate agency or a real estate company. I won't hire someone to run it for me who has short to medium term goals of starting his own estate agency. And the reason why I won't do that is because there is a possibility that he or she could learn and grow, start making contacts through my business, and then when they've built up enough contacts and everything else, start their own thing and compete against me. So if I know that is something they want to do, if I do my due diligence right and I see that within them, that isn't the type of person. I want someone that's hardworking and dedicated, but has almost zero desire to own their own business, at least in the short to medium term, who's going to dedicate themselves to me, and I'm going to pay them a good salary and good bonuses to compensate them for that time. But that's about me doing my due diligence. The person comes in, does 2 years, steals my contact, and then competes against me. It's not their fault. It's my fault for hiring them. And this is the difference. Pep works at City being I'm going to use the words, a yes man stroke puppet, because he sees football in the same way as the people that run the club. There is synergy between the two. Chelsea's, and this is where Chelsea fans have got to open up their eyes. They've got to open up their eyes. It's the lack of synergy. This is the fifth manager since they've come in. They've gone from experience. They inherited experience, but they were going to give that a go. But then they went for an up-and-coming manager. Then they went for experience again, and then they've gone back to an up-and-coming manager. That in itself is switching and cheating your process regularly. So for me, it's not a bad thing. They want someone that they have control over, but they have to pick someone who, in the short to medium term, at the very least, that for me is 1 to 5 years, is going to be happy with that because they see eye to eye. And for me, that's the problem here. So it's not about having a yes man or not having a yes man. It's about creating synergy. I think we're bogged down on that puppet yes man element. You've just got to find the right person.
No,
and so far,
No, but hold on. There is a difference. I think
Harry,
there's a difference between a yes
decision.
man.
That's crazy and scary.
It's a difference between having a yes man Terry like Pep, who only would say, I want this type of player or this
Profile, basically.
profile. While someone like these guys, well, I don't know, they're gonna come to Chelsea. Chelsea's a big club. They're gonna work with anything. I don't think these guys care about the fans. You know why? If they cared about the fans, they would have sacked Poch when they were 11 and the fans were screaming.
Yeah, why didn't they sack him when they were 12?
They didn't sack him when they were 11. They waited until the end of the season. When he spoke against them, they sacked him. It isn't about what the fans want. They don't get. By the way, if the new manager comes in and he aligns with what they want, if they're sitting 8th and the youth are playing and the values are okay and they're getting, they're gonna be like, oh, suck it up, fans. We aren't selling the club. At the end, we aren't selling the club. We're gonna keep getting
Chelsea fans.
Chelsea fans don't understand this.
They
listen to the fans, and if these guys listen to the fans, they would have sacked them when you were 11th because everyone was screaming Poch out, and there was a valid reason for them to sack him, but they didn't. They sacked him only when he spoke against them, right? Because I don't think at 11th you would say the season could have gotten worse. It couldn't have. It couldn't have gotten worse. You're 11th. So where else would you gonna go? 12th? Who cares? I actually think this and this guy.
I don't personally buy. I understand it's the report. I think there was probably a little bit of this data analysis, and they told him that they weren't happy with certain things on the pitch. In my honest opinion, he lost his job because they have fallen out and they don't see eye to eye. But that's also a mistake by both, because and look, maybe maybe it is or it isn't a mistake.
Do you really think
Maybe
it was right to sack him, Terry? Do you really think it was? And let me ask you two questions. I'll ask you two
go on,
questions.
go on.
First, do you think it was right to sack him? And second question, I'll ask you: if you were a Chelsea fan, would you want your ownership out now or the manager out?
So I look at it this way. I don't think it's wrong per se to sack him if you don't see eye to eye anymore. So based on performances and the data element, I think that's all a little bit overstated. Because the report that it all came from Ben Jacobs, who's a big friend of the channel, said they sat him down and one of the biggest things they focused on was the missed chances. Well, the missed chances was due to the players that you bought for Poch. Therefore, how are you having to go at Poch, right? That makes sense to me.
Yep.
But if you don't get on with your manager and you're butting heads and there isn't synergy, you've got to sack him. So I don't think it's wrong. What I think's an issue is this is another fouled managerial appointment. Now, I don't care whether it's Winstanley and Stewart or Todd Bowley and Clearlake. It all amounts to the same thing.
The club, basically.
It still amounts to the same people. At the end of the day, it still gets signed off. But whether Todd Bowley's in the meetings or he signs off on it, it's the same difference. And people are getting far too carried away with that at the end of the day. Now, my biggest red flag, I've said it already, is that they've gone from experience to inexperience to experience. So like win now manager, project manager, win now manager, project manager type approach is what they've done. I'm just using modern day colloquial terms for it, really. That would be more of my concern than sacking Poch as the individual. That would be a bigger concern to me than hiring McKenna. Is, well, what happens in 9 months? I'm getting Glazer vibes, which is every 12 to 18 months. Oh, someone somewhere sells them a new idea of how they can get back to the top and make more money. And they go, all right, we'll do that then. Yeah, but we're 6 months, 9 months into this project. Yeah, but we'll get out of it. We'll get out of it and say, because the data we're pulling away. We'll start putting out stories that match that really noisy part of our fan base that hate this manager, and we'll move on. There's just something about it. That element for me is more important than focusing on Poch. And the Chelsea fans I see that are solely focused on Poch, I think to myself, you don't get it at all. You don't get it at all. And I think there are things to be concerned about. That doesn't mean, I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of Poch. So I think some of the criticisms of Poch that Don has, I think are spot on. I don't think they're wrong, but it's the changing of direction. Again, or it feels like a changing of direction. Well, we know it is because they're specifically stating we want a head coach. We want them to have less control. They're going for a young manager. We're going to continue to buy young players. Remember what Chelsea fans were telling us 3 or 4 months ago? Because their club briefed it to their tier 1 journalists. They were meant to be dropping the young player approach. They were getting rid of the under-25s policy. The stories are now starting to say that isn't the case. So they either lied to you 3 or 4 months ago or they've changed plans again. Which one is it? These are questions that Chelsea fans should be asking. Doesn't mean you slag your club off, but you should be asking because it helps protect your football club. Man United fans, in my opinion, including me, spent the better part of 10 to 15 years ignoring these questions. And it's what's led to where we are now. We should have pushed a lot harder, challenged a lot harder, and done more tangible actions against them to stop it getting this far. It's as simple and as straightforward as that for me.